Oh, hey, look, guys. Alice is here. Hey, Alice. How's it going? We got Philip. That's not Philip, that's David. We got David and we got Philip over there. And we have a very special guest with us in the building. We got Dan Black from Drifters and Vellichor.
The one and only.
Very excited to have you here, Dan. Drifters and Vellichor on the 28th just released the self-titled record, Drifters and Vellichor. And we were just talking about how it fucking slaps. If you haven't checked it out yet, Alice, I'll put links up in the description. They also have a video for one of the tracks, The Shadow, on YouTube. You can check that out as well. I will put links for that in the description. Dan, how you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm really stoked to talk to you guys.
Yeah, me as well. I am just going to get right into it. I want to talk about Arachnochrist first.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the title first before I heard the track, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to just skip to that one. I'm just going to, but I was like, okay, I'm anticipating Arachnochrist, and it didn't let me down. Can you tell me about that song in particular and what what would you call that cryptid you've created, where that comes from?
Well, I'm glad you didn't skip, actually, because the songs happen sequentially, and all of the songs are, well, how should I put it? Well, yeah, there's one continuous story, of course. I mean, I'm sure you can kind of tell that when you listen to the whole thing.
I was getting that vibe. My next question actually was going to be if it was a concept record. That was kind of the vibe I was getting from it.
Yeah, totally. So the concept is, I'll just give you a basic rundown, is just a guy goes into his childhood treehouse and trips balls, but never comes back. So the second song all the way to the sixth song is sort of him traversing different consciousnesses and sort of being a silent observer to those consciousnesses. So by the time we get to Arachnochrist, he's sort of he's found himself in a place where now keep in mind I wrote this like a year and a half ago. Okay. He's found himself in a place where the totality of humanity is sort of located in big cities. And in those big cities, which are not walled in, they're perfectly open, are, a lot of people that are subconsciously run by this sort of spider god. No one's ever seen it. But they have somehow acquired these little spiders that make them do certain things, like the physical little spiders that attach to the brain sort of make you do some, things you probably wouldn't do, act robotic, do stupid things, kill you. I'm not saying it was injected, but maybe. So that's sort of the middle part. Like when you get to the center, he's sort of like, what the hell is happening here? I got to get out of here. And by the end, he's begging to get out, which he doesn't. But it's not only one of the things I hate about concept records. Like I was listening to The Who the other day, and Tommy came on, right? And it said, ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. Who the fuck understands what that means? You can't attach yourself to a pinball wizard. You can't attach yourself to any of the events that happen in that story of Tommy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's by The Who. It's a concept, probably one of the first rock and roll concept records. I don't know, maybe 1970, 71, something like that. And it's about a guy who is a pinball wizard. He plays pinball. He's blind, deaf, and dumb. And you follow his blind, deaf, and dumb character through the record. Incredibly genius record, right? But when you hear the single Pinball Wizard, you just sort of sing along. There's nothing for you to emote to. There's nothing for you to grab onto and go, oh yeah, that's me. Nobody goes, yeah, I really identify with that Pinball Wizard. And I think moving up in time, if you go to someone like Coheed and Cambria, they sort of do the same thing, but they're a little bit better about letting you in on the lyrics and letting you feel the character a little bit more. And I thought, what if I made a record that sort of separated these interests, and that you could either attach to the story if you wanted to get into it, and I would make it incredibly personal so that if you wanted to find me in there or yourself in there, you could. And also that had some sort of cultural meaning to the time. So I tried to layer it in three. The primary one being allowing someone to attach to your songs the way you would, and not alienating them with lyrics, you know. And with this story, they're only going to get a piece of for one song. It doesn't make much sense to me. So I thought, let's let people in on my psyche completely, as you know, as retarded as it may be, or as you know, as weak as my ability to do this may be. I'm going to try. So Arachno Christ was the first song I wrote, and I actually don't think I quite pulled it off with Arachno Christ, but I started getting better and better at lyrically allowing people to, or writing in such a way that people could identify and that I could identify personally, and it wasn't just a pure story. In my opinion, a pure story and a concept record in this day and age, after everything's already been done, it's a little bit of a cop-out. Like we can all write a concept record of something, you know. If you're going to make a concept record, in my opinion, you got to add a little bit more. You got to give a little bit more of yourself into it, and not sort of hide behind the lyrical content. So I apologize for the long-winded answer, but that's, you know, kind of.
No, yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you for being informative. It was like, yeah, it's about Spider Jesus. I'm like, oh, thank you, I appreciate it.
No. At the end of that song, my idea was that he actually meets the spider thing, and ends up kind of liking it, kind of in love with it. You know, go ahead and give me. Control my mind. It's kind of easier that way. So he doesn't quite win that battle.
It's very a lot of allegory I see.
Yeah, that one was a little chock full of allegory, and I think if you listen to the rest of the record, I do a better job of sort of being a little bit more broad with the lyrics. But
no, yeah, I the whole fucking album, I need to listen to it again now. Like is there a place where the lyrics are up where I could find?
Oh, well, I guess I should put them up.
I guess it just came out, so like that's,
well,
I didn't expect there to be. So
I tried to put them out I did it through I can't remember, disc something. And they allow you to put the lyrics in there. The problem is they don't allow punctuation in the lyrics, which really fucking bothers me, because there's commas where commas need to go. There's, you know, there's ideas and the sub idea, and punctuation in poetry really helps to shape that idea, and they don't let you put the punctuation in there. So I sort of said, fuck it, if you want to go to my website, and then I just never put them on the website because I'm not lazy musician. But you're right, I need to swallow my pride and just put them up. And
or I mean, like if you want to like put them on your website, I can put a link in the description here or something.
Yeah, you know what, I got them all written on a text. I'll put them on the website before the show comes out.
That's what's up. That way we can get it with the punctuation.
Yes. Don't you forget about those commas.
Hey man, commas are important. They're just as important as letters. People don't think they are. This is an argument people have been having since letters, but punctuation, man, like don't forget that, Alice. It's very essential.
Oh, it helps.
Comma system. You're one of those.
I believe in commas. All right.
I'm a definite comma system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like periods, exclamations, ampersands.
Oh wow, you take it that far? Oh no.
Yeah.
There's got to be a special use case for an exclamation or a semicolon, but you're right, they're there. They're in
there. They all serve their purpose for sure, but
that's right.
They have to be there though.
In my opinion, they do. Unless you're making a point with no punctuation, and that's a separate, you know, that's a statement in itself.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. So I'm really excited to see you guys putting out things and doing things. It's like it's been a trying time for a lot of artists. So whenever I see artists doing things, it's really cool to me. Yeah, man. I definitely want to go back, like maybe with lyrics too, and really get like the full story out of it, because like I was just blown away by the music aspect of it the first time I listened. I was just like, it's because it's really fucking slaps, not just saying that. Okay,
thank you so much.
No problem. I'm done sucking your dick now. We can move on.
Well, no, feel free to do that whenever you like. I mean, the reason I made the record the way I did, which I wanted, you turn on XM and you put on what's the rock station? There's like 3 rock stations, right?
Lightning 100 and The Rock and
well, yeah, those are like the radio stations. But do you have XM or do you like
no.
XM satellite? Well, they play this. You swear to God, it's the same song over and over again, but it's different bands. The snare sounds the same. The fucking kick sounds the same. The guitars, you can tell were done with like some sort of axe effects or straight in, not even just whatever was on the fucking computer. And it blows my mind that we have all this shit at our disposal, all these sounds, anything we ever want, and we either decide to computerize it so that the computer plays it, or just do some sort of plain ass version that we've heard 100 times. So my approach to the record, like, I left music for a while because I didn't see where I fit in. We got some label interest, and no marketing departments go, no, then we don't know where to fit you. No, we don't know where to fit you. So I said, fuck off. I stopped making music. And when I came to make this record, when I finally felt I had something to say again, I thought, you got two things you can do here. You can make every attempt to make the best record you can with all of the things that are in your head and really try to get them out. Or you could pare it down, simplify, take the basic chords, and get on the fucking radio like everybody else. I got as good of a shot as anybody. I know 4 chords. I can play them. But I thought, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why not make something weird?
That's the first thing I noticed with Tia of Acacia is how weird you guys' progressions were. Like right off the bat, you guys were doing things that things I wouldn't expect. Like when you're listening to music and you think it's gonna go one way and then it just goes somewhere different.
Yes.
Like that. Yeah, just right out the gate, you guys were like.
That's my whole fucking point, Alice. Yeah. Is that when you approach music and then what's coming next. Boring, man. Why would you do that to your ears? Why would you do that to your brain? Like, don't even let it in. You've heard it before, and it's not doing anything for you. But if someone's listening and then they go, oh shit, that's when you say that, it gets me excited. I'm getting a little bit of boner. So if you want to suck it again, cool. When somebody says that to me, like, oh, I didn't expect that. Like that's why I did it. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate you noticing. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you making good music. Keep doing that.
Yeah, that's real art. Like that's not contrived, commercial bullshit. Like that's real art. That's what art is, an expression of the personal. So, that's always, I love seeing people that are still invested in the art and not the money aspect of it. Because like you said, anybody, can make, you can play 4 chords, you can put music out there that's going to be on the radio, but that's not what art is about. It's not about the money. It's not about the popularity per se. It's the expression.
Right. It's not the why behind why you wrote the thing in the first place. It can result in that. And there are a lot of really rich, true, and honest artists out there, but you can't why invite yourself into mediocrity? Why not just kind of, even if you fail, just kind of do something different,
And there's nothing wrong with an artist making money either. It has to do with intention, right? So I know, I don't want to speak for you, Dan, but I feel this is probably, you can relate to this, but I know me and Philip have talked about, at least in our cases, that it's something that art is not necessarily even something that I want to do all the time. It's something I'm compelled to do. It's something I have to do. And that's I think that's maybe the difference is,
I listened to I watched an interview with David Bowie the other day, and he goes, I don't even really particularly like making music. I don't even particularly like performing or painting. He said, but I have to do it. It's just what I do. And for a long time I didn't do it. I'm not, please, I don't mean to compare myself to David Bowie. I'm just trying to relate it to to what I was doing is, I thought, yeah, it's kind of not that fun, to make this thing. It's
Especially
kind of tortured me a little bit.
especially the kind of shit
Yeah.
you're making, man. Like, because it gets dark, that takes
Yeah,
something.
and Rich was really cool about being patient with me. Rich is my drummer. We're basically a two-man group. We use live musicians as well. But he was really patient with me going back and forth. I would spend days over like a couple of notes. Like, should that note be there? Should it not be there? What does it do? Is it doing that? Am I jerking off, or am I really saying something? You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's really important to me. Like, you take someone like Richard doesn't like the Black Keys. I like the Black Keys. Now, the reason he doesn't like the Black Keys is because he's a drummer and he's looking for some John Theodore shit out of everybody, right? But it's Pat.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's Pat, and he's back there going full.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the music is honest. You can tell that even if you don't like it, even if it's bluesy or it doesn't matter. It's coming from a place. The way I hear it, it's coming from a really honest place. And when you hear it, yeah, you can hear just the notes and but there's an expression there, and there's an honest expression there. So it's not necessarily. So I don't want to give the impression that maybe I was trying to be difficult in the record. I would really like to. I hope that what it sounds is like, hopefully what you perceive with some honesty was like, I'm trying to work some shit out here. What am I doing? And this was all COVID, and I got some more things to say. We got another record in the works, man.
Nice. That's what's up.
I may meander. I took a couple of hits before we start.
No. Meandering's rabbit holes within rabbit holes. That's we end up just going from one conversation to the next and the next, and that's because that's how it works down here in this universe, down inside the hole.
Inside the hole. That's right. Goes on forever. The black hole.
Holes
So
within holes.
what do you?
Us old people know.
What are you guys listening to lately? I'm always looking for new shit. I just, I want some good shit to listen to.
Yes. So, I know this is literally what everyone says, but I do listen to a little bit of everything. I have recently, like maybe the last like year and a half, I've been listening to a lot of hip hop. Really been into like modern hip hop. There's like a lot of obviously not good modern hip hop, but there's also some really good niche hip hop out there that's becoming less niche. I know David listens to a lot of like classical music, like Paganini. I like listening to Paganini with you. What else you been listening to?
I listen to like just like random things from a bunch of random different. I'm trying to find the name of this one that I would recommend. Give me just one sec. Go on to Phill and see what Phil's been up to for right now.
Kentucky Phill.
Kentucky Phill. Well, I'm kind of on the same page as far as the hip hop thing goes. But I've kind of been exploring more, not necessarily screamo, but like aggressive rock, I guess I would put it, because I found that the hip hop that I like is like that. It's pretty aggressive. So I've kind of been, just dipping my toe in the water as far as that goes. But mainly it's hip hop too. I don't like country. I hate country. I will never like country music.
You don't even like bluegrass. I
hate bluegrass.
I love bluegrass, but
what about the Punch Brothers?
I
You
showed
ever hear the Punch Brothers?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I showed
they're
him
fucking good.
I showed him Billy Strings, and he didn't even like that.
What?
Yeah.
I have a very particular taste in music, and a lot of it has to do with my mood and where I'm at as a person. So, because back in the day, when I was a little bit of a lighter hearted person, I listened to more poppy kind of stuff and a little more mainstream, hip hop and things like that. Nothing too crazy, but, just depending on where I'm at in my life. And hey, one day, maybe if I lose my wife and my dog and my truck and my house, maybe I'll listen to country music. But until that happens,
This doesn't
you know,
translate to you, huh?
it doesn't translate at all. No.
I get it.
All
I
right.
get it.
What about you, Dan?
Dude, I've been I do these long things. So I'll be into somebody for like 6 weeks and then a few years goes by. But lately it's been Bowie. Like that's why I brought up the Bowie thing, because I've been just digesting his material. And I've been realizing actually, man, everything began with Bowie. If you think about who took over for the Beatles, you can say, Zeppelin did for a little while as far as creativity went. But after In Through the Outdoor, it's kind of, nobody doing new stuff anymore. And kind of moved into disco, and everybody, that was probably the beginning of the long decline of real rock and roll. But Bowie, man, if you go back and listen to Heroes, Ziggy Stardust is what sort of everybody listens to. But the 3 albums, Dogs, Heroes, I can't remember the one with Ashes to Ashes on it. So innovative. And you can hear, I swear to God, you can hear Nirvana, you can hear Josh Homme, you can hear Volta in there. This guy came up with it all before anybody did, like certain ways to do backup vocals. Like I was listening to All the Young Dudes, which David Bowie wrote, but Mott the Hoople recorded as a hit. And they do this sort of low background vocal. So usually when somebody sings a vocal, there's like the main vocal, and then there's sort of usually a higher pitched one for a harmony, right? Well, Bowie did none of that in this one, and they were all low harmonies. It almost sounds like mumbling, like and it sounds fucking cool, And he was the one who came up with all. So there's a lot to mine there. You know what I mean? Like, what was he doing here? What was he saying? Why did he use that guitar sound? It was 1975 on Heroes, and he uses this reverby, loud guitar sound. He knows how a guitar should sound. He made it like that on purpose, So I've been just kind of digging into him and
yeah, he's definitely
wondering why I suck and why he's so good. And
Bowie's like a Tolkien for like the music world. Like he kind of just paved the path for a lot of, like you said, just so many artists.
Yeah.
That perfect example. I cannot. And it kills me. I can't think of the name of the Bowie track, but maybe you can help me out here. Did you see that Lil Nas video that blew up like 6 months ago, maybe a year ago? You know what I'm talking about?
No, not the prison one, right?
Not Tekashi.
Oh wait, no, Lil Nas X is what I was thinking.
Yeah,
does he have the prison video?
No, he made a video. What's the name of that song?
Montero.
That's right. Yeah, it's called Montero. Anyway, I mean, it was like it's not like a huge tragedy that you haven't heard it or anything, but it's like,
yes, it is. Shut your mouth. It's such a good song.
It is like a really good song and a good video, but like, I don't know. It's also, I don't know. It's a little poppy. But
well, it's gonna be poppy. He's pop like
there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not like, I guess I'm kind of niche with the kind of hip hop that I listen to.
Right.
But it's so derivative of, I mean, like on purpose. It's not like it's like a nod at Bowie. I can't remember the name of the song though. It's the one where Bowie is it's Ascension, and then he falls, turn back, turn around, go back. What song is that? Fuck, I'll find it. But anyway, the melody is like he took almost like a sample from this Bowie track, and it mirrors this specific song. But basically,
what artist is it?
It's Lil Nas X, the song that blew up, and all the Christians were mad because, I don't know.
Oh, it's bad yesterday.
Satanic imagery, I guess.
Oh, and he made like
he was like twerking on the devil or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah, I know.
And he does have a new video, by the way. He's in prison and he's dancing with a bunch of dudes, and like there's dicks swinging on the floor. It's awesome.
I didn't know anything about this.
I didn't know that.
It's actually kind of cool. It's a cool song, actually. I like it.
Well, I'm upset that I just went on this rant and I can't find the Bowie track, but I just searched David Bowie and then I just realized that's not going to get me anywhere closer to what I'm looking for.
Yeah, he's got a
So-
lot of tracks.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe later I'll send you a link, but no, yeah, he's just a very influential dude. I was saying he was like the Tolkien of the music world because Tolkien just like paved the path for all the fantasy writers. It's like,
Yeah, he did.
it's like, oh
Pretty
man,
much.
are you into like fantasy novels at all?
I've read quite a few of them. Like I've read Lord of the Rings probably 6 times.
Okay, cool. So I just finished Dune. I don't know if any of you guys.
Oh yeah, I read that a while ago. That was a really good book.
I so blown away how well written that book is.
Yeah.
It's like this epic fantasy world that doesn't take any of the tropes from Tolkien, but it's just as rich. Like there's no elves, there's no goblins, there's no trolls, and yet there's this rich political universe with like this entire different ecosystem that is foreign to ours and foreign from anything else anyone had seen before at the time. And then like I just recently read Dune. So like now I'm saying all the shit that Dune did. That like
Yeah.
like sandworms, like Dune started that.
Mhm.
Like sandworm, like I don't know, like it reminds me of Tremors, you know? I know those were those worms?
Kevin Bacon, yeah.
I guess
The
they
giant worms.
Yeah.
Like SpongeBob, giant fucking worm.
Oh, Bevan Kagan. Good old Bevan Kagan.
Yeah, dude. I read Dune, and I was as blown. I know there's a lot more books. I never got past the first one, not because I didn't like it, but because I don't think I read anything for a while after that book, because it was kind of like, well, that was it. You know, if you got Tolkien and you got Dune and maybe Phantasm, I can't remember who wrote that. But it was a 1800s book that sort of kind of started the real fantasy. I wish I could remember his name. Right at the turn of the century, C.S. Lewis and Tolkien were inspired by him. That's sort of where the very beginning of that fantasy started.
Okay.
And then they sort of built on that, and then Tolkien took it to a whole new level. And then Dune, to me, was sort of like you either stop at Dune or you're going to go right back into Dragon Fantasy or go to Star Wars or something like that. Like, there have been very few fantasy books that have caught my attention like Lord of the Rings and Dune. And it's coming back to me now. Now there was this drug, right? There's this drug that allowed him to see something. I can't really remember. What I remember is him being politically kicked out. The first third of the book is incredible. The way he gets his dad and the way he has to escape. Shit, it's all coming back to me now. You're right. I got to reread it. Holy shit, that was a good book.
Fucking good. It's so well written, man. Like that's what blew me away is the author is like
Herbert.
Oh, I thought you said pervert.
No. What's his name? I just want to give him credit.
I heard pervert. I'm like, well, maybe.
So did I.
Herbert. Herbert was a pervert.
Herbert pervert. No. But I mean, he's a fucking poet. Like it's everything is like he could talk about anything, man, and it'd be interesting. But like, but yeah, basically like the premise. And I'm sorry, Alice, if you haven't read Dune yet, but like I'll try to be light on the spoilers. Basically, the premise is that they're all trapped on this desert planet, and there is this drug that is in the food and water supply that is highly addictive, so addictive that the withdrawals will kill you if you don't have it. Most people are unaware that this is even in their food supply. The government has it so under wraps. But basically, once you go there and eat the food, you can never leave because the withdrawals will kill you.
So real life.
That's how they didn't keep us on Earth whenever we can take the $1 billion Bezos flight. And you'd be like, no, keep all the slaves on Earth with the spice. But yeah, that's basically the premise, and then it gets wilder from there.
It's awesome.
then there's-
I want to talk about it right now. I want to give it away.
Man, so you were talking about there. Yes, there are other drugs in the story that are like
Yes,
that open up his mind to.
that's the one I was thinking.
And
of.
that was actually one of my favorite parts because this is a man who has clearly experienced the cycle, like a drug come on, who has like experienced what it's like that to. He described like what a drug come on is like
Yeah.
that paranoia of like the first time like it altered state of mind, and
Right.
like he captured that so beautifully, and like the whole trip was just like a complete. There's a few times that the characters take these like vision quests, and it's really cool. Anyway, that was
Yeah.
Dick.
Well, I think that book was written in the 70s, right? And there's no. His name is Frank Herbert.
Okay.
I forgot his name. Frank Herbert. So if he wrote that in the 60s or 70s, there's no way he
Wow.
wasn't a part of that culture, right? I mean, like experimenting, and
Hmm.
I mean, he was someone of that era was the perfect guy to write about something like that, you know,
Oh
because it was new to
wow.
everybody.
Yeah.
It was that kind of mushroom tripping and the drug culture that sort of came up in the 60s and 70s.
That makes a lot
So
of
yeah,
sense.
he was tapping into that. It was pretty ingenious.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's wow. I didn't think about it like that. Yeah. Yeah, man. When like maybe we're overdue for like a hippie revival. You know, like
I think we definitely are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Here's what the hippies believe in: having a good fucking time and being left alone. How about that?
yeah,
How about that as a
Yes.
goddamn idea?
Yeah.
Leave me alone. And if I'm
like
having
that.
a good time, don't tap me on the shoulder, tell me I'm doing something wrong. I'm having a good fucking time. Fucking fuck off.
Yeah.
Fucking you,
Sure.
government and downers. Let me have my weed and mushrooms, fuckers.
That's I mean, me and David were actually just talking about like we have like cigarettes, we have refined sugar, we have caffeine, we have if you're a little kid, you can also get diet meth if you want. But
Yeah, yeah, no, seriously. Yeah, we have all kinds of shit. Purified opium for everybody,
Yeah.
totally legal. Yeah, it's great.
so I mean like I don't believe in control. Like I think to the farthest extent possible, no man should dictate what another man or woman does. So that's like in the sense of like we're talking about drugs, it's like I would take it as far as like even extremely drugs we know to be extremely harmful, like heroin, like meth. I would take it that far because I mean, well, they've done this in some places, and what you see is you see addiction rate go up, but you see violent crime severely diminish, and that's because these gangs and mafias, that's what's funding them, that's what's keeping them in business, that's what keeps them in power, is the fact that these things are illegal, and the government knows this, and they just take their slice of the pie. It's better for them to keep it illegal because then they can make money on both ends of it. But
Yeah, 100%. And if you think they have us sort of occupying other places in the world has nothing to do with, you know, our drug trafficking
yeah,
problem, then I think you're mistaken, especially, you know, with Mexico and Afghanistan. I mean, they're keeping those things expensive, and you know, they want fentanyl in the opioid. They love it, man. They get their cut, and they get their palms get greased, and it's just the way it is, man. It's awful.
Yeah.
At this point, it's essential for their way of living.
Yeah,
They've
no,
done
is.
it for so long.
Yeah, they have to usurp life out of somebody else because it's just so. For some reason, they get some sort of turn on out of making everybody else miserable.
The way I see it, like if you want to, like, it's not recommended, obviously, Alice, don't do this, but if you wanted the freedom to take meth or some like drug that we know, I mean, is going to be bad, like it's not going to be good. Like, I mean, I guess, and you know, there's arguments for cases where people have done it and not had issues too much, but I'm not recommending meth is my point. My point is, I don't think the government should dictate whether you're allowed to do it or not, Alice, because it's like, I mean, if you want to fuck up your life, isn't that you're an adult? I mean, they're selling you cigarettes at every convenience store. So why can't they sell you meth at every convenience store? Like, I mean, the way I see it, it's got to be one way or the other, right? It's like, okay, if not that, we need to outlaw cigarettes.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. It all comes down to really taxation, because it's so hard to control. It's so easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it is easy enough to make meth and to make, certain, or to get your hands on certain drugs, that it would be hard for them to corner the market. If you look at places like in Michigan, where they have dispensaries and things like that, and weed is legal, they tax that weed so high. Like, it's like if you spend $60, it's like $6 or $7 in taxes. So, it comes down to really like how easily can they control it. And with stuff like meth, it's hard to control that, because anybody can go to their store and pick up cleaning supplies and Sudafed, So like, it's one of those things where while it should be the only control needed is self-control, when money's involved, there's always going to be, that extra level of controlled that extra level of control, because it's not something that the federal government can profit off of.
And the best, like, I mean, we know that's what it is this control thing. It's a money thing. But like, the best argument I've heard against it, for like why we wouldn't do that, because they can't just say it's a money thing, we can't control it.
Right.
The best argument I've heard is, or I guess the only argument I've heard is, well, these things, they could lead to violent crime. These things tend to affect other people around them. They tend to affect the entire society, not just one individual. And I mean, that certainly is the case. These things cause these things through a complicated pattern of logics. But it's also not the case that if you were to shoot up heroin, you would immediately go rob a store. It doesn't trigger a signal in your brain to go be violent. What happens is you get addicted and get desperate, and then end up in a position where you rationalize that with logic.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, is like, they use that as the argument, but a lot of times I've known people to act certain ways that are not socially acceptable or not legally acceptable, is when they're sober trying to get the thing that they are trying to get. I don't know many people like heroin, as far as I am aware. Most people just kind of zone the fuck out. Like, they just kind of conk out on heroin. Meth, for the most part, most of the meth heads that I have come in contact with are, they're not going out and doing things, or, things like that when they're getting high. They're just concerned about getting high. So, it's very strange that argument even holds any sort of weight.
It's funny, because I know meth heads where that's not the case, where they definitely
really
do go out and fuck shit up.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I think it's kind of a false problem, though. It's one that the authorities have created. The reason there's crime because it's drugs is because you keep it that way. You make them illegal. They don't have to be illegal, but when they are illegal, you have to do certain things to get these things, right? I mean, is everyone in California and Colorado a non-working pothead? No, I mean, it didn't ruin society, but it was illegal like a decade ago, right? So,
Yeah.
So any crimes that were committed due to pot in California and Colorado were their own doing. It didn't have to happen. Nobody had to die over pot. That was because they made it illegal. And not only that, it's legal in California. People still get busted for doing their own grows because they don't like not being in on it. The whole point, like you said at the beginning, is to get a fucking cut.
It's the same reason you can't collect rainwater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what you get rid of the drugs, all of a sudden you got to have less police. All of a sudden you got to have less government. All of a sudden, well, maybe we don't do that. Maybe we just keep it illegal, and keep our system going.
Yeah.
Keep pulling people over for going 4 miles over the speed limit. It's a fucking racket. Now you got me going. God damn it.
It is a fucking wreck, and unfortunately, that's. No, Dan, it's important to talk about these things, though. Like,
It is.
A lot of people won't talk about these things because it makes them uncomfortable, because it's difficult. So, I thank you for. Well, we don't have to keep talking about this specifically, but
No, I think let me get a little chill here. I think
yeah.
I'm using my phone for the Zoom, so it's a little hard to see the little guy.
Serious business time.
No, what sets me off is when somebody punches you in the nose and go, "Why you bleeding, bro?" And the government constantly does that. Not just government, but the people who like that sort of authoritarian thing. They constantly punch us in the fucking face and go, "Why you bleeding, bro?" Because you're oppressing everybody. Well, how about we smoke some weed and talk? How about you stop with this is illegal and that's not, just because you get a cut there and you don't get a cut in this one. How about you fuck off and you leave me alone, and then there won't be any more bloody noses, or there'll be far fewer at least, because you didn't create them.
I think because we do have basic human rights here, like the bare minimum, people think we have like this super free lifestyle, and we do in comparison to a lot of countries, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be significantly better. And the problem I see is a lot of people just want to keep giving control away to the government. They just like please daddy, more authority. And it's like,
why do you think that is?
It's because that's what the media tells them to do.
I think this is a general cultural problem. Like, if you even look at music and look at what corporations are putting out as music, as rock and roll, they're selling this thing as rock and roll, but it's not, and you're sort of, oh shit, man, I forgot my end point. See, the edibles kicking in.
Well, that's good. Welcome to Wonderland.
What were we just talking about? Because I did have a point.
That's a good question.
A bunch of stoners in the room. None of us remembered to be sober. Alice, do you remember where we were at? Oh, she's baked too. Shit.
All right, we're all baked together. Let's go down this rabbit hole, baby.
Yeah. Spelunking, if you will. We were talking about
rabbit hole cave.
Drugs, drug law. I'm trying to remember specifically what we were on just now.
Why people give away control.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So we have this sort of thing with like not only our drug culture, but it's sort of like our entire society is acting like this. Like, why only listen to corporate rock? But that's all that's available. If you want something new, you got to go somewhere else. And it's sort of like whatever these corporations and the government, they know they're selling to the 90%, right? Like to the most people that they can. And it seems like, I don't know when it started, but it seems that more and more we're giving away our real freedom for some kind of fake freedom. Like, we don't have, think about how many bands you can listen to right now, but how many sounds are there? Like, who's making, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all begging for the Mars Volta to come back because
there's this band called Drifters and Vellichor. They're pretty proggy. Like, they're doing some pretty unique stuff. But
I'm doing my best.
Anyway, go on.
But it's that whole thing of we seem to be ceding more and more of what we really want for what they tell us we want. And I think a lot of us have had enough of it. Us in the 10% are going, I don't want it anymore. I don't want your corporate rock. I'm tired of you telling me this thing's bad and that thing's not. I'm tired of you telling me that I'm worth less if I do this. I'm worth more if I do that. And I'm not doing it anymore. I'm doing my own shit. So I guess you would just have to come arrest me for making my own rock and roll or my own whatever.
Yep.
And I'm not thinking like you anymore. I'm not doing it.
Fuck you. I won't do what you tell me.
That's what it used to be.
That's what it used to be.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy how that's
That's
changed.
not cool anymore, though. You notice that's not cool anymore?
It's not cool to say fuck you in the entire, listen to me, Alice. The entire objective of rock and roll is fuck you. That's what it is. Look at every rock star you see on stage that's genuine. They'll give you one of these every once in a while. It's because it's in their nature to not go along. It's in their nature to fuck you, don't do what you tell me. Except, you know, Rage is now older and they have mortgages and they have things to pay for. So maybe I will do what you tell me.
I mean, I'm getting kind of old. But
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think everybody has been around long enough to see Rage Against the Machine go from anti-corporate to pretty damn corporate.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, you know. Who do we look to now? Where do we go?
I think we were talking about at near the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about like money and how that can corrupt things. And it's like well, I mean, even like a real artist, it can corrupt. But like if you're doing things for the money, you're doomed from the get-go. Because I mean, it's not going to work. You're not being authentic. That's not
right.
Even if you're making, like, you're one of these like mega engineers generating these generic pop songs, that itself is like its own art, right? Like you have to understand the like analytics, and like you're building something to like cast a specific spell on people, and it like that is its own kind of art.
It totally is, but it's a different kind of art. You know, it's
for sure.
That's the corporation casting its spell. What the genuine spell you want to be cast on you is the one from the artist. You know, you bought the record and you're listening to it because you want the artist to cast a spell on you. And most of music is, you know, not that. It's the corporations casting the spell. I sound very anti-corporate, and I actually don't have any real objections to corporations in themselves. It's just that, you know, you look at music over the past 40, 50 years and go, what the fuck did you do to rock and roll?
Well, I mean, I think this is maybe not true across the board, but just a general statement. This is probably true, and you guys correct me if you disagree. Like, but like companies in general are pretty tone deaf towards what people want. Like they invest all this money into like analytics of what people want, and it ends up flopping a lot of the time because they don't understand what people want. They're like robots. Like I think Mark Zuckerberg is probably a great example, right? Like not that Facebook has figured out what people want and has exploited it really well, but Zuckerberg is like he's like what is human nature, you know? That's so many of these guys is like they're so out of touch that it's like, oh well, my daughter likes this boy band, that's probably something that's like, you know, and it's like that's their connection to the outside world. And
could it be they're selling to NPC? You know what an NPC is?
Non-playable character.
No, I was just gonna say something about that, because it's like instead of giving people what they want, instead they find it easier to tell people what they want and to control you into taking their product or you choosing them. It's like, I mean, it's like every fantasy story there ever is with the dark wizard and the, you know, and the rest of the people, or the light wizard. It's like, you know, these people are willing to use the powers that they have in order to manipulate you for their benefit, instead of giving you the power and telling you choose, you know, which is, I like how you were talking about before about like old style rock and roll where, you know, it's about fuck you. I love old rock, you know, and stuff like that, where it was like that, where it was, you know, anti-establishment, or, you know, basically anything that allowed you, or encouraged you rather, to think for yourself and to be your own person and not just do what the sheep are doing or what the shepherd is telling you to do, you know. And now they found a way, and I don't know, it may be through mainstream media, it may be through some other ways as well, but, you know, now they found a way to tell the populace what what they feel and what they think and what they want, you know, and to control it all. And it's crazy to see how far things have come from that, because we call ourselves advanced. Like, we think ourselves advanced, and we are technologically in a lot of ways, but when it comes to philosophy, or, you know, what it really means to be a human, what it really means to be a person, a being, it feels like those things are lost to us.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like there's a new like a new primitivism. Like, we're entering another stage of evolution, and right now we have some primitive ass minds
Have you
who
guys
are
seen?
susceptible.
Have
You
you
know,
guys
like
seen Idiocracy? Sorry.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, oh, totally, exactly like that. And oh fuck, now I'm thinking about Idiocracy. You can't do that to me. I love that movie.
I'm sorry. That's what you were reminded me of, and I thought that's kind of maybe.
No, totally. No, that's exactly what it is. So now we're ready to go to this next stage of evolution, you know?
Yeah.
And we got a bunch of primitive people who don't want to go, or like, much like you would imagine a caveman to be. Their thoughts are not cogent. They sort of belong to whoever they see their leader is. And it's kind of weird to say, but it's kind of animal-like, the way human have a way to make a herd out of themselves. And it's disturbing to see, because, you know, some of us are going, you know, come over here, you know, there's good music over here, there's food, and you can smoke weed. And then, you know, 90% of the population who sort of eats up this modern culture that we have love it. They love the music. Which makes you wonder, you know, is it the corporate government fault for giving people what they want, or is it the people's fault for? Does the NPC have the power to go, oh, wait a minute, this sounds like the last record, or wait, why is pot illegal? Like, is it possible for the NPC to sort of wake up out of that and
Yes,
evolve?
with mushrooms.
Boy has the answer right here.
I mean,
Stone date.
obviously, Alice, mushrooms are not the only way to get there. You can also get there with LSD.
Ask a doctor.
And weed is a good starter drug.
Yeah. Once you're ready, you can move on to DMT and like really break through and see some shit. Alice, there's all kinds of doors to open your perception. You know, don't limit yourself to just digesting what the government wants you to. Tobacco doesn't make you see elves.
Yeah,
Smoke something else.
I've never seen the Machine Elves. Have you seen the Machine Elves?
Actually, no, I haven't.
Okay.
So
yeah,
well, I guess
if it's possible to break. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, please go ahead.
So if it's possible to break, you know, people out of their NPC state, how do you do that?
Dose the water supply with LSD.
Oh shit.
Okay, well, yes. So psychedelics can definitely help, but also, I mean, like, this is going to be a different rabbit hole. So I'm trying to we're just going to gloss over this a little bit, but basically, like, I think knowledge is really important. Spreading knowledge, making people as aware as possible. They say ignorance is bliss, and it is, but I think we need to confront reality all of the time. Religion is specifically one of these tools, which, I mean, a lot of beautiful things in pretty much every religious culture, so not knocking all of it, but these things have been utilized, even the pure aspects of it have been utilized by corrupt people to control people. So religion, and let's not say religion, let's say organized religion has like churches and things like that have well, they've been corrupted, let's say, and it's also been infected by what we've been talking about with art. Like, it's been infected by this money thing. Money's been entangled with it, so it corrupts the message. It makes it not about it. Money, I think when you involve money, it's like one of these things where it's like, if this is a source of revenue for you and it's doing well, maybe you don't think about the money aspect of it so much. But then if your church isn't doing so well, maybe your message at that point becomes more targeted towards like, hey, you all need to put donations in the basket or you're going to fucking hell. So
Yeah.
like, hypothetically that could happen. But
I would only disagree a little bit in that I think I don't think religion has been corrupted. I think that's the state of religion is corruption. There's no way for it to not be unless there's no humans involved. So once you involve humans, that's standing in front of 3 humans, he all of a sudden becomes the leader. That goes to everyone's head. You start doing, and religion, I think it can be a nice scaffolding for morality, but if you'll end up being just another NPC, you'll just be sitting in a pew instead of at an abortion rally. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I guess kind of what you're saying is you're following a path. You're following someone else's narrative instead of finding truth for yourself. Is that right?
Exactly. So you can call it church, media, whatever the hell. It all ends up being sort of the same thing. And I should explain that a lot of the personal side of the record that just came out is me sort of coming out of religion. So I was a religious person. Like I went to school for theology, philosophy, and stuff like that. And so when I started to sort of ask real questions, it all sort of falls apart, which most people know. I didn't know at the time. But coming away from religion, you sort of understand, no, I wasn't asking any questions. I thought I was. You think you're asking the right questions. But like I guess I don't want to get specific, but fuck, now I lost track. I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're good, man. What you're talking about is a really relatable thing for all of us, like me, Philip, and David. We were all raised Jehovah's Witnesses, and we kind of, I think we all kind of got out at our own time, but yeah, no, there's a lot.
Even a religion like Jehovah's Witness, which is really small, ends up acting like a government, right? Because there's people, there's elders, there's rules, and all this. And when you're in that sort of thing, you don't know to ask the right questions,
Right.
So I think it's beholden to everybody not to blindly believe anything.
That I think the thing is, yes, that is it. That is what we should be teaching everybody. Unfortunately, that's not the education that these people are getting. They're saying, don't question these things. So it ends up being really difficult to get away. And it's one of those things where like I have a lot of empathy for the people that are still there. I have a lot of family, and like it's not, like this is something I struggled with even years after I left, is when I was growing up, and even after, because I had left when I was 18, but I was probably like 22, 23 when this like dawned on me. Like it'd been a real quandary basically to the time I started waking up to the problems I was seeing, is why are these people that are so much older and wiser than me, why are they not seeing the glaring issues that I see? And I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm just smarter than these people, especially when I'm, like 14, 15. That's not the case. I'm not smarter. So what is it? And I still didn't get it after I left. And then one day it clicked with me that the reason that they turn a blind eye to so many things is because they've been in a cult for so long. It's all it's your entire social group. And they specifically isolate you from the outside world to make it so that they make it impossible for you to leave. So if some 19-year-old edgy atheist kid like I was wants to strike a conversation with you and maybe even change your mind on a few things, you're not going to accept that, not readily, because you're going to take that personally. You're going to take that as a personal attack, because even though that kid is not pointing any fingers at you directly, the things he's challenging are things you identify with. You identify as a Christian. You say, I am a Christian. And we see this with politics too, right? I am a Democrat. I am a Republican. It's like, no, you're not. You're a human being that's been shackled to an ideology.
Exactly. Yeah. I kind of feel the same way about the idea of government at all. So I'm kind of outing myself as sort of an anarchist here, but like, yeah, like I'm interested, like, was there a particular question that you asked? Like, I'm wondering if there was what was the point at which you became the atheist? Like, what question set it off for you? Like, oh, that's not true.
We should definitely get into more of this later. I'm not an atheist anymore. I definitely was when I was 19.
Oh, I see. Well, even from the Jehovah's Witness to the atheist, what was that?
So I would actually like to see if you guys have any answers on this first, because you guys obviously came from the same experience. So if one of you wants to tackle that real quick, I'm gonna go pee real quick. Do you guys, either of you, do either of you have were there any questions? What questions come to mind when you were a witness that eventually you think were pivotal in making you leave?
I will go first if that's okay, David.
Yeah, of course.
So for me, it personally was why do I not feel God the way that other people do? A big thing that I've come across as far as Christians are concerned is most of them are very quick to believe that God will take care of their problems and will fix their problems. I never felt any love per se from God. A lot of the things that I went through growing up left me in a place that was like, how could God be love and also not love me? You know, I wasn't receiving the same sort of treatment or the same sort of what I felt was love from, you know, God that I saw other people getting, because I did see it. I saw all these people being, you know, blessed. And here I was in a situation where, you know, I was clearly needing a way out and wasn't getting it. And so for me, when I came out, I was very much like Alex, where I wasn't completely atheist, but I was just dead to the idea of God, period. And that thing that made me want to step away was just why am I different from all these other people? What is it about, you know, about me that's different? And I think that's what kind of pushed me to that leaving point.
Yeah.
Was just, you know, not experiencing the same things that other Christians were experiencing, even though I was giving 130%, 100, you know, just giving everything to that. Why was I not reaping the benefits?
Yeah, I remember being in church and stuff and going to these camps as a kid, and everybody around you is doing, obviously they're feeling something, right? They got their hands in the air, they're singing, they're crying like a bunch of assholes. And I'm looking around going, what are these people experiencing that I'm not? Now, a couple of times you end up faking it because you just want to be a part, and you go, okay, I'm feeling something here.
That's it, Dan.
Yeah, and then
You just hit the nail on
it's
the
so
head.
traumatizing, man. It's so traumatizing to look around and see, oh, everyone's got this lovely thing going on. I'm like, are we all bullshitting, or are they really feeling this?
Everyone's
Right.
bullshitting at least a little bit.
Everyone,
Yeah.
everyone, except for the NPCs who just raise their hands because they're told to. You know?
Well, I mean, even in like we should touch on this a little bit later, but I want to hear David's answer, so I'll be brief. Like even in like let's talk like outside of Christianity, like in magic rituals that you see in other cultures, there is a degree of fake it till you make it. Like you need to put yourself in a mindset of belief, be open to the concept of faith, I guess. And like so there is a degree of like getting into it. So they're doing religion correctly. It's just the religion is I mean, maybe you shouldn't be doing that at all.
Right.
But what were there any questions for you that like what made you really start questioning your faith, I guess?
There's just so many different things that really, the only kind of answers that they could come back with was that basically God was just so powerful that we can't understand his kind of decision making skills or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was basically like me hitting the line against like faith. How could people so readily, like, I get the idea of throwing yourself into the idea of a mindset to attain some sort of goal that you're trying to get out of it, like some sort of coping mechanism or whatever kind of mindset apparatus you want to put yourself in. But then actually I could never actually pull it off. Like, I tried when I was a kid, just like, everyone else, because especially since we were raised as a Jehovah's Witness, it's like very cult like. They cut off all association with the outside world pretty much.
Yeah.
And then so it's pretty much just like I try to get myself into that mentality of what it is to be faithful, but I could never sorry, I'm kind of losing track.
You can never do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know what like
You're
it means to be
explaining.
faithful, but we can't do it.
Yeah. The thing for me was like, because not all of it's bad. I'm sure you guys can testify to that as well. There's a lot of things about the way I was raised that were beneficial to me. Not all of them. Most of them I would say no. I wouldn't raise my kid the same way, but there are certain things about that made me who I am, and I appreciate that. So but I think, and I've lost so much of it over the years because stoner memory, but we got a pretty good education on the Bible. It was through a specific lens of Jehovah's Witness brand Christianity, but we did get the Bible. And the thing about that is there's so many things, especially in the Old Testament, that I would just disagree with the morality of it, kind of like David was saying, Old Testament Yahweh is a brutal motherfucker. He is a jealous God. He fucks shit up. And we could do an entire episode just giving examples, but he basically, the conclusion I reached was, I don't know if this is true or not, but even if it is, I have no interest in worshiping this guy. This is not someone I respect. This is not someone I admire. Now I understand and appreciate the Bible a little bit better, because I understand, like the ancient Jews and rabbis understood, that these were metaphors. These are stories. And it's only recently that Christianity, like over the last 1,000, 2,000 years, has turned this into like it's literal, like it's true. Like the real faithfuls like understood that these were parables, that these were narratives. And that didn't lessen it to them at all. There's a lot of value in these things if you treat it like a story. Like, you can get morals out of it. Some of them, the morals, they don't match our morals today, but you can see how it's like a moral handbook for Israelites. Like, instead of telling your kids, hey, don't go out into the woods, here's a story about how if you go out into the woods, you could break your leg and die. Or here's a story about if you disrespect your elders, he can call 2 bears out of the woods to maul 40 children. So it's these elaborate, it actually reminds me of something like Brothers Grimm stories, like Hansel and Gretel, like don't stray too far out. There's a moral here, which is they're trying to scare the living shit out of children to keep them safe, which is traumatizing, but they're alive, which, I don't think maybe we can do that better today, but you can at least grasp the mentality that's behind it, and that's how. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say that I wonder if there's something in our genetics that responds to story.
Oh, for sure.
Like when we hear certain stories that get us, I'm always wonder if there's why do these stories keep repeating? You look at
Yeah.
Assyrian history, and then Jewish history, and then all these older civilizations. We all came up with the same stories. Like for 10,000 years, we've all been hearing the same exact stories. And the only reason we do that is because they touch us, right?
Right.
And it's like, man, maybe there's something like in our DNA that
Yes.
just responds so hard to those stories. We just keep doing it over and over and over again.
Dan, I think that's exactly it. There's archetypes that are like written in our DNA. So like there's the hero archetype, you know, when you see a hero, there's something about that resonates with you and you understand it that way. And that's because, you know, there's probably always been heroes. There's always been throughout history, someone in the tribe that, you know, they go out to fight the boar. So it's back, way back with us. Like back as far as, you know, like there have been people probably, as long as there's been culture and civilization, I would think. So like, so then we have these other archetypes too. Like now you got me on archetypes. There's one called anima, which like one of my favorite examples of anima. And it kind of sounds like enema, so it's funny. But anima is like the it's the woman bringing out the man that sleeps inside the boy. So like an example of this would be like Nala in The Lion King. It's like Simba, he's hanging out with Timon and Pumbaa. Yeah, Timon and Pumbaa, he's just hanging out with his boys, getting high all day, playing video games, eating bugs, and like he's not doing shit with his life. And then this lady comes along and like they start doing this thing, and then she's like, hey, you should probably like step up, you know, take responsibility for your life. Like you could help people, you could do something with your life.
Yeah.
And it's not till her that he steps up, and like it's not necessarily like he did it exclusively for her, but it took her bringing that out of him to and that is a story. When you hear it, it's true. Like you know, you can think of countless examples where that's true. If it hasn't happened to like you on a personal level, then it's happened to someone you know, or you've heard stories like that, you know. And there's many types like that.
And that I've seen that movie a million times, where there's a happy family man, but in order to create, he's got to go fuck this hot blonde who says, you know, who's nonchalant and doesn't care about him. And she drives him crazy, and she brings the best out of him. That's an old story, you know. I totally agree. That's happened to me in my own life. You can't get the best out of yourself unless there's someone going, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess that's kind of like, if people stay, I was wondering on this line of religion, why people would stay in that thing. Obviously, a lot of the people that we know and love had to have asked the same questions, but they stay, they believe still. They don't care about the, you know, I wonder if what part of what keeps them there is that they feel like they wouldn't do anything or think anything or be anybody or know anybody, or no, maybe no one would love them if they didn't have this group of people.
It's fear.
God, fear. Yeah, exactly. Fear.
Well,
yeah, it's fear.
There's so many components in it, Dan. Like, go ahead, Phill.
I was just going to say, like, a point you touched on before was that, you know, being a Jehovah's Witness, they cut off, or David touched on how they like cut off all, you know, or as most as they can, the communication, but like connection with the outside world. And it's like, when you come out of being a Jehovah's Witness, unless you're just like, I'm done with this shit, fuck this. Like there is that twinge of fear where you're like, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose my family. I'm going to lose my friends. Because when you're in an organization like that, your friends are pre-programmed. You are an NPC. So when you break that cycle and you start to think about all of the things that you're going to lose because of your decision to step away, I can understand why a lot of people would fear that. It can be scary, you know, stepping away from something like that. But, you know, like, thankfully I had you, Alex, that was, you know, we didn't necessarily like plan coming out, you know, at the same time or anything like that. But like, you know, we sort of reached the same conclusion around the same time, and having people who understand your way of thinking, or at least just your desire to want to seek out the truth, the actual truth. That sort of thing helps, but not everybody has that, and a lot of people are ruled by fear. I think that's why a lot of people, they don't leave the religions that they're in. They don't step outside of their particular party chosen for government, things like that, because they are afraid of what's going to happen to them once they leave.
Yeah.
And, growing up, we were always taught that once you leave, it's going to be so hard for you. It's, because you are going to lose things. So it will be hard. I mean, that's just the way it works. But at the same time, at least I found that it was way more beneficial for my mental process to be able to think for myself and not have things pushed on me and told me that they were truth, and not get. It's funny because they tell you when you are a Jehovah's Witness to make the truth your own. And I used to think that meant to, suss out the truth, to go out there and figure it out for yourself. But that's not really what they wanted.
That's not what they meant.
No,
that's not even what it means.
No, it's not at all. And it's so insane. To think about that.
If I could play my own devil's advocate here, because my dad's still religious, so I like to think that I could have some empathy for people who are still really into it, because it gives them comfort. Like when my mom died, I'm not going to go tell my dad, she's not having dad. There's no, come on. Why would you can't do that to people who have built their whole psyche around this. Now, right. Conversely, the opposing side to that is that you sort of have to abandon reason. And that's something I can't get on board with.
Yeah.
When you have the same questions that I did about religion, if I'm talking to my dad, if you have the same questions that I had about religion, and you ask them to yourself and you know the answers, how do we keep smashing down what we know in favor of some feeling or a crowd or something like that? I never understood that.
There's it's sort of like a new agey kind of idea called chaos magic. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but
I haven't heard of that.
Chaos magic is it's like basically some guys in like the early 20th century made over decades kind of created this philosophy. It's supposed to be like a very streamlined, direct approach to magic. Basically, the idea is that belief itself is power. So it's irrelevant what you put your faith in. So there's kind of like the trick is it's kind of like momentum. You have to get the ball rolling before it's rolling. So you have to fake it until you get to a place where you actually believe it. The danger with that is once you've done that, it's hard to break out of it because now you've attached that to your entire idea of reality and what it is.
But, okay, so in this idea, are you knowing that you're faking it at first? You are wittingly faking it?
At first.
So so my question is, how does one get to the point where you go, I'm not faking it anymore, I know this is real? Where's that line?
Love. I would say love is that line, because when you are, at least for me, when I was younger, I started out, I was introduced to the religion very early. And once I felt the positive aspects of being connected, I had to make a choice of myself of whether I was going to risk those positive benefits, that love that I was feeling from all of those sorts of people, all these people I didn't know that just automatically loved me because I was one of them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one answer would definitely be like love and community. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah. So that whole being a part of something and being accepted, because that's something we all struggle with at a certain point in our lives, is being accepted for something or another. But when you are introduced to something and they tell you, if you do those things, if you believe like we do, if you behave like we do, then you will be loved like we love every other person, and you will be loved like every other person in this organization is loved. That sort of thing, because we're all looking for love. That sort of thing, for me at least, was a big push to the actual believing. Because I remember the first time I decided that I was going to put, make being a Jehovah's Witness my career, was when I saw a video and I saw how happy the people were, and I saw how my parents responded to the people in the video, and I could see that there was a connection between the two of them. And I felt like if I became one of those people, my parents would love me. And so, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know, and not in every instance is it true love, but I feel like we all have this desire to be accepted and to be loved. And when you are propositioned with that, it almost becomes too good to turn down until you realize, what you're actually sacrificing, or what you're actually giving up in order to be a part of something like that. It doesn't always weigh out, changing who you are for someone else. But in that instance, and that's one thing they do. They're really good about including the young people, getting them when they're young, because during those formative years of your life, that's when you become who you are. So as long as they can get you when you're 5-6 years old with this promise of baptism, and once you're baptized, God loves, you're gonna live for God, and God will provide everything for you, like, that sort of thing. It's just like it almost is. It is too good, because when you look at it, it's like, well, why wouldn't I want that? But I feel like the promise of love and the promise of acceptance is, something that holds.
There's also the promise of eternal life in there. Like
that's true.
They're promising you that you will live forever if you live your life this way. There's like, no, like if you live this, because like, I don't know if you know this, Dan, but Jehovah's Witnesses don't think. So like, it's kind of complicated, but like not everyone goes to heaven. A certain subsect of people go to heaven, but most people will just be resurrected on earth after Armageddon. So it'll be like they're in immortal bodies in Garden of Eden, but the whole world is Garden of Eden, basically. It's like a reset. But like, I mean, that's what they're offering you, so that's definitely a component and why people stay as well. Like, for a lot of people, it is the social thing because they don't believe it. It's just, their parents are in it, their whole social network's in it. But I know people that they're in it because they think they're going to see their loved ones again, like,
Yeah.
Like you were saying about your dad, like it's like, yeah, this got depressing.
Let's talk about pussy, am I right?
Yeah, bro. Alice knows what's up. High five, Alice. Anyway,
Alice is the best pussy.
Where's that Cheshire cat?
Well, I wanted to ask you about the chaos magic though, because it was more like, what is this a real like a religion sort of thing, or it's just a practice, or what is that?
It's like I would say like a philosophy. It's an approach to reality, I guess. It's trying to be scientific. I don't really know of any chaos magic cults or like churches or anything like that. It's not like an organized religion thing. It's more a concept a couple of guys proposed that caught on. It's it's very derivative of something like Aleister Crowley. I don't know how familiar you are with him, but he
Yeah,
like
sort
thelemic.
of like theosophy
Well,
movement.
that theosophy was what's her name?
Blavatsky.
Blavatsky. Yeah, that's a little different. Like
Well,
thelemic.
my understanding is that that sort of Hermetic tradition sprouted the Satanist edge of that. Is that sound familiar? Is that
To be honest with you, I'm not super familiar with Blavatsky.
okay.
I don't have a lot of comment on that. I wish I knew the answer to that. I know she was like, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know a ton about theosophy. I don't know what they preach. I know Blavatsky had some, like it was definitely magic based. There was like ritual involved, right? But
Yeah,
beyond that, I just don't really know much about it.
I don't either. I have a just a surface, sort of knowledge of this sort of stuff. So
Gotcha.
I don't have any either.
I know a little bit more about Crowley and thelemic magic, and that's kind of Crowley proposed that he went to the Great Pyramids at some point in his life, and long story short, while he was there, he channeled the spirit Horus, and the Horus gave to him the Book of the Law. That's Crowley's holy book. So this is going to be a sacrilegious podcast. So close your ears, Alice. The first rule in the Book of the Law is not to discuss it, not to discuss its contents. Anyone caught doing that is a blasphemer and should be defamed. So putting that aside, let's talk about it. So the next rule is do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. So I think that counteracts the first rule. So
are you one of the only? I have the lyric on the last song is "Be where thou wilt, what you will, well, oh well." I mean, that's.
Oh shit! Oh, nice.
I'm a little familiar with Crowley.
Was that in
It's a Light Eaters, the last song.
Yeah, Light Eaters. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll go back through it when you post the lyrics. That would have like accompaniment. That'll be fun.
We'll do.
But
what is there a third? What was the third principle? Is there a third principle?
Oh, there's a bunch, but I mean, yeah, do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Man has the right to live how he wants, eat how he wants, sleep when and how he wants, work when and how he wants. Man has the right to kill anyone who would try and take those rights from him. So, I mean, he sets in there that do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, but also that there's a little asterisk there that you can't infringe on other people's rights. So if you're taking that freedom away from someone else, then you're disobeying the law.
And that's another one of his principles is love is the law, love under will.
Yeah.
And that's what that means is basically do as you please, but don't fuck up any other, like don't infringe upon anyone else's rights. So like that's honestly like, I mean, that's love. That's what love is. Doing what you please, but not infringing upon someone else. Like, that's one of the big things that spoke out to me because I've recently been going through a couple of his, like going through the Book of the Law quotes, the big ones, and like kind of checking them out and stuff like that. And like that one spoke out to me a lot is like a lot of people don't understand that. And a lot of people feel like love is doing what someone else wants you to do.
Yeah.
Love is bending over and just taking it in the ass because you can.
Altruism.
But that's yes. And that's not what love is. Love is simply doing as you please because you love yourself and not infringing upon someone else's rights to do as they please because you love them.
And luckily, a lot of us want to do good for others. So like,
I think that's in human nature.
I mean,
like we're so like attached to each other that like, I mean, you see someone else cry, even if you may not cry yourself, you feel sad, or you at least recognize what they're going through,
Unless you're a complete psychopath, like empathy is not only an instinctual thing, like to like want to help other people, but also it's also like, okay, let's say you are a psychopath. It's also a strategic thing. We're social creatures. That's how we survive. It's like you're not going to get far in a city if like every sub shop will not sell to you. Like every grocery store is barred to you for like, let's say that's how the culture works, like, luckily we don't live in a world like that. You can still be a piece of shit and go to Walmart. I mean, people do it all the time. That's my quote of the day.
People do it all the time.
You can be a piece of shit and still go to Walmart.
Yeah.
God bless America.
No, I wish that Satanist creed was the Declaration of Independence. Would have worked out a lot better.
Right.
Yeah. So we're getting to this portion of the show. I want to ask you, Dan, and we can get back to like religion here in a second if you want. But
okay.
I wanted to ask you about. Okay, so this is something I kind of like to preface before I ask, because no one has the answer to this question. It's very subjective. But what do you think happens after we die? Do you have any ideas?
I used to think it was something, and then I thought it was nothing. And now I think it's something again. And I mean, even this record is really a chance for me to process what I think that is. So if this record is about me abandoning my religion, then it's also finding, and the answer is I'm a little lost at the moment as to what that is, because I'm asking again, the hell is that? What I am convinced of is that whatever it is, it exists as a reality. So I'm not convinced that this is some sort of simulation, or that we are a digital idea of a hologram. I'm open to the idea of a hologram, but whatever it is in a sense eternal. So if I'm going to rationalize this, okay? So if I am not a physical being, and I'm a collection of electrons, atoms, I'm a collection of actual things, okay? Which is provable because you can see it. I'm a collection of actual things. But when those things fall apart, with the idea of entanglement and with the idea that everything is sort of just this big wave function, then why wouldn't it be possible for a latent signature to be there after the body disappears? So by a latent signature is like, like when you peek at something bright and then you close your eyes and there's a latent image on your eyelid. Why wouldn't that, if that is a reality of this existence, that things leave images, that there are lasting effects, that when I close my eyes, I can still see the light, that when I close my eyes, I can get to a place where I can see a light in my head at all, is amazing. You can't be looking at your eyelids. You're looking somewhere else. There's light somewhere else. Why couldn't it be that lives on after the body dissolves? Maybe it could be, maybe it couldn't be. So maybe I'm getting a little mystical and thinking that it might be an energy, or we sort of, leak back into the pool of larger consciousness. I don't know, but I think that I do know it's not nothing. I think, which is oxymoronic in itself. But so I hope that wasn't too stupid of an answer.
No,
I feel embarrassed.
I think I agree that it's also something, for sure.
Yeah.
My next question.
Well, can I touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So personally, I believe that I guess in a sense that what I consider that latent like image, or that, kind of flash image that's still there, would be what we consider to be ghosts. So like they're not completely sentient, I guess, or like not completely like in control of their actions, but there is some sort of like almost like, that little bit left over. Whatever gets left over is what what you become, or that's what becomes your ghost. Personally, I believe that when when you die, you choose where you go. I think it's more faith, because I do believe faith plays a huge amount in everything, because this world is based on magic, like, and when you believe something enough to where it becomes real, I do believe it does become real. So people who believe they're going to Valhalla are going to Valhalla. People who believe that they're going to heaven or hell would be going to one of those two places. Depending on, obviously the belief level. If they're just kind of surface level on how much they believe it, then, that might be different. I'm with you on the aspect of there's not nothing, like it's not just nothingness where you're done. But I do believe that to some extent you can control where you go based on your belief, but it also, in that instance, has to be a firm held belief.
That's like kind of the catch-22 of what you're saying. It's not what you wish for, it's what you think is going to happen. So
right.
If you think you're a piece of shit and you're a Christian, guess what?
You're going to hell. You're going to hell.
That's what's interesting about that philosophy.
It really is, and it kind of has its parallel on Earth. It's antecedent where that you kind of get what you ask for. Like if you're a piece of shit in life and you really have low self-esteem, and you're going to encounter a lot of pieces of shit in your life, you're going to be held low, and it'll sort of be you doing it. Like you're keeping yourself here because there's some sort of comfort in this misery.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis wrote a book called The Great Divorce, which was controversial at the time because he was a Christian, and this was a book about what heaven might be like, and it was a little bit like that. It was sort of like everybody showed up in this open field, and then whatever your paradigm was about the world, or whatever your philosophy was, there was some sort of parallel to how they ended up in this place. And then you could sort of, by dint of opening your mind, get to heaven, which was the mountain in the far field or something like that. It's a really good idea, but C.S. Lewis didn't believe in heaven at all, which was a weird thing for a Christian. And he didn't believe in heaven or hell. He just believed in, I think he really believed in the Great Divorce idea, which is a lot like what you said, just sort of you get what you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, I think this is really out there. Yeah, but I think I don't really have much basis for all of this. I have basis for like one of these concepts, but I think it's basically one of four things. I think maybe, okay, so there's like a cycle of reincarnation, right? And then you can ascend out of that and go to nirvana, which is like basically like a collective hub. It's just like, that's what we would call God, but it's just a collective consciousness. It's like a hive mind. And then but then there's people who can like break out of that cycle all in together and retain their ego. And that's what we would call like a god, or like in certain philosophies, I think it's a Thelemic thing. They're called ascended masters. Basically, these people who I don't know exactly the methodology behind how you do it, but I think it has to do with if you have a strong ego, like your ego is, and that doesn't have to be a negative thing, but if you're I guess if your soul was able to break out and retain its consciousness, like you would be in the realm of the gods, you could say. And then the other thing would be the negative of that. So like you could really fuck up and get yourself out of the cycle, but become a demon and become like this one-dimensional thing that it's not good to be. Like you're still aware, but that's what so like a good ghost wouldn't be here. And like in order to interact with it, you would have to like call to it. But like a bad ghost would be like maybe stuck here. And that's maybe like a demon or like one of these like, I don't know, different things we have ideas for, like a jinn, you know, but
Yeah. Interesting. Have you ever read the Kybalion?
I have.
It's those hermetic ideas come down from a long line of.
Oh, that's right. The Ascended Masters thing was a hermetic. You're right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I think this ties into the Blavatsky and the Manly P. Halls and these guys who sort of build on that tradition. But sometimes I read that stuff and I go, you know, this shit makes a lot of sense, because well, here's why. Like when you were saying that you become a ghost, right? Phill, when you were saying you become a ghost, that sort of implies immediately that there's some kind of hierarchy, or that if you can become a ghost, then it's possible to do other things or become some other form of matter.
I see what you mean.
Ethereal
Yeah.
or otherwise. So there's places you can go. So as soon as you introduce like you say, the ego, as soon as you introduce the ego, the idea that you contain your own idea of yourself in the afterlife, then it makes complete sense that you would be able to ascend even from there. I mean, why not?
Mhm.
You know,
Level 2.
if you can be a ghost, maybe there's some sort of matter you can gather, not matter, but you know, there's some sort of ethereal thing you can gather to yourself to lift yourself out of ghosthood. I mean,
Yeah.
I do. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that one of the laws in the Kybalion was that everything always moves or something like that. Everything's vibrating, actually.
Mhm.
And that was the only thing I was going to say, is that if everything moves, then we never stop moving. Ascending, descending, we're always moving.
Right. Yeah. I hold pretty or I hold on to the idea that, you know, we are just in another form or in a form or another, we are just all energy. And what something we know about energy is that it cannot be created or destroyed, only repurposed or reformed into something else. And so when we die, you know, there is that reforming, because our physical bodies are no longer, you know, attached to our psyche or to who we are, as, you know, to the ego or anything like that. You know, we are separated from that, but we go back to just being at that point just energy, you know. But I think that when you are in that state and you have, I really feel like it comes down to what you glean from the past lives, I guess. Because, you know, a person who just lives the normal day-to-day life, doesn't really think outside of themselves, isn't, you know, woke, with quotation marks, you know, they may die and just go to wherever they're going, you know. But someone who has the prior knowledge, or at least has, you know, the idea that they are something other than just what they have been presented as, then they sort of get they get a little more control over certain things. You know, they get a little more control over maybe what they end up as, or where they go, or, you know, what they become after that. But I do think that, you know, we're all, in a way, we're all just energy that's just shifting throughout different instances. We find ourselves in one instance and we are this thing. We find ourselves in another instance and we are that thing. And I think the real struggle as a being, not as a human, but as a being, is to figure out how, if not how to control it, but at least the formula to some extent. to figure out what it is that we are really striving for. And I think that once people start to get to a point where they start to believe of themselves as not less so human, but start to believe of themselves in a bigger sense, that they will start to see, themselves available in different instances, see themselves being something else. And I think that, because we are all just, we're all just energy, and that is our natural state, is just, is energy. I struggled with it for a while, that we were all one collective thing, one collective being. And I'm not necessarily sure that I would go so far as to say that that's necessarily true, but I do think that we are all one thing. We are all just, vibrations moving, we are just, we are just moving. That is all we are, is we're just moving. And
like Dan was saying earlier, you're just a collection of atoms that's closely tucked together. You're not even one single thing. Not even close. And then on top of that, you're just a bed for microorganisms. You're an entire factory for life. So
we are the earth.
Yeah.
For a fuck ton of microorganisms, and to think that we are, and the thing about it is kind of funny, because you're like, well, I'm a human, I walk around, I talk, I eat. The earth doesn't move, well, the earth does move, but the earth doesn't walk around, it doesn't eat, it doesn't, express itself. But in a certain way, that statement is untrue. The earth does move and does express itself. But, we're all just energy. We're all just moving matter, moving molecules.
The thing you said about us all being one, that's what I was about to get into in a minute. I think basically the thing we call God split itself into many iterations, trillions of iterations, probably more, but it, and God is every living thing. So every ant, every microorganism, I guess, if that's alive, I don't know. And then every person, they're all just, I think that's where we started from, is we were all that thing split into many different pieces. But I'm not necessarily sure that's where we go back to. I think some people might go back to it. I think there might be a way to retain your ego though, and live as yourself.
Well, there's a question then. Would you think it's better to retain your ego and break out of being God, or to go back to being God?
I personally would like to retain my ego, but that's my ego talking.
That's a good, I like that answer.
Yeah, that's funny.
Dan, out of left field, do you think, do you believe in free will?
I do. I think like anything else is a yin and yang between determinism and free will. I think is if we have an up and down wavelength of determinism, I think the side to side is free will. And
okay,
if we have I don't think there's any way to exclude one from the other. They may even be part of the same thing.
So free will is part of determinism. Is that kind of?
Well, if you talk about, some people would say that you can imagine something and it comes into being, like these people who say they can, manifest, something simple like, I'm just going to keep my mind on something and then it becomes reality.
But Dan, you were pre-programmed to have cast that spell. It wasn't really your intention. It was just a roll.
It could have been, but if it was, you have no way of breaking out of it then. And you probably have no way of asking that question.
That's true.
So if you were pre-programmed, if I were building a program, I would program you not to ask that question.
That's a good point.
But what if that is part of our suffering as humans, is to ask that question? What if that is the program, is to make us suffer?
Could be. What if that's the thing that knocks you out of the NPC state, you know?
Get hung up on unanswerable questions. That kind of is, dude. Dan, you
The
hit the nail on
glitch.
the head, dude.
It kind of is. You found the glitch in the matrix, right?
Holy shit.
Now you understand.
Oh, you understand
anyway,
that you don't understand.
And you never will. Socratic, man.
Yes, dude. You hit the nail on the head. That's it. You were saying, like, how do you wake people up from that NPC state? Yeah. I mean, you crack their egg.
And it kind of goes into the idea of heroes too, right? Like a hero is someone who breaks people out of their milieu, out of their whatever the fuck they're doing with their life, or their oppression, or their mindset, or whatever. They bust through it, and that's why we look up to. That's why I look up to heroes, the guys who said, "No, we're not doing it this way anymore." And I think all of our heroes are probably have a little bit of that "fuck you" in them, which is, back to rock and roll.
That is the integral part of being a hero, is the fuck you. Like that is the hero complex.
Right.
That's why
Fuck you.
Well, that's why rock and roll kind of adopts Lucifer so much, because he is the original anarchist. He's the original. I mean, he's not an anarchist because he actually he wants to rule, but
he's the original hero.
He's the original. Okay. Yeah. And he's the original rebel. Yeah. He's the original, Rebel Alliance. So basically, and that's the thing about Lucifer is it's not, I mean, you can certainly bow to him and serve under him if that's what you want to do, but his philosophy is not to bow to anybody. Like, if you want his respect, if you want to be like him, then you don't bow to anyone, including him. So
well, hey, check this out. So what if, okay, a third of the stars fell from heaven, right? Everybody knows this sort of bit of religious lore. We don't know when that took place. I'm just supposing this is all true, okay? We don't know when that took place, okay? So there's this great heavenly battle, and Satan rebelled, and he took a third of the angels with him, is the story for those of you who don't know. And wouldn't it be more likely that this planet, let's say Adam and Eve were here, let's just take all of that word, okay? There's the first peoples here. Wouldn't it make more sense if God was here communing with his people, right? God was communing with his people in his Garden of Eden. Like, doesn't it make more sense that Satan is not like the anti-hero and the opposite? He is actually God.
Yes.
Well, why wouldn't it be? He's the one who tried to give us knowledge. Who restricts knowledge?
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
I mean, who restricts the tree of life? Who guards the gate to the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Why would you do that? Why would you put a guard at the library? Because you don't want me to fucking know, you asshole. You're the devil. The snake was God.
Yep.
That's such a good analogy. Why would you put a guard at the library? That's exactly right. No, man, so you guys keep jumping ahead of me. No, it's not nothing wrong. I think I was about to say this. I think everybody worships something, whether they realize it or not. It can be a habit, it can be a lot of things, but what I choose to worship is the archetype of Prometheus and Lucifer. I usually, when I bring this up, I just try to keep it more focused on Prometheus, because Lucifer is more of a more controversial figure. And Prometheus wraps up what I'm trying to say just as eloquently as Lucifer would. But just like the snake, offering this fruit, Prometheus, I'm sure you're familiar. He brought torch to man. He brought fire to man, and like, he told him to do great works with this, and that was a literal spark of inspiration. That was a muse for the people to make all kinds of shit with it. And he was actually punished for this by Zeus. He was chained to a rock where I think a crow pecked out his bladder for all eternity. And when I hear that story, like, that's my God. That's what I worship, is he brought people knowledge even at his own detriment. he gave people that. And, you know, you could argue, oh shit.
Sorry,
Oh, there
no,
he is.
my battery is running
Scared me.
down, but
Oh no. But no, yeah, that to me is the thing I put my most admiration in, and that's what I try to replicate. My worship looks something like spreading knowledge to people and also acquiring more knowledge for myself so I can spread it out more. So yeah.
So would you say then that you worship the hero complex?
I
Or
guess
is it
if we're saying Lucifer was the original hero, then maybe so. Because I mean, you could say Prometheus was like definitely a hero if you want to look at that. That I would say he was when it comes to like when it comes to Zeus and Prometheus, obviously the underdog. It's kind of like Neo versus Mr. Anderson, right? Like Mr. Anderson is not the hero. He represents this thing much larger than this individual. And like obviously you root for Neo, the underdog, because fuck a Zeus and fuck authoritarian government.
right?
I guess
No,
maybe, yeah, maybe not so much a hero complex as much as I have a serious problem with authority that I take all the way up to God.
yeah,
That's
I think
fair.
the lesson in that Zeus thing and is that, I mean, there are people out there that will punish you for transmitting knowledge, transmitting what you know. And one of the ways they do is, you know, they call you foolish, they call you an idiot. Oh, that's wacky beliefs. Oh, that's, you know, meanwhile, they go to their church and raise their hands to some fictitious thing. The people out here kind of trying to transmit it, even if you're not transmitting true, let's see, even if you're not transmitting exact facts, I think there's a real value in at least hearing out someone who's thought about it. You know, like there's certain things that don't make sense about the universe, man. I think all of us should be at least willing to have an out there conversation about what's really going on here.
Yeah.
Because it seems like until you test the extremes of something, you can't know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's science. I mean, science is literally
Yeah.
sitting there going, we think something, we don't know how this works. Let's figure it out and test a bunch of shit until we can figure out how it works. Like, and religion is touchy because magic is often inconsistent. And I mean, religion is based around magic. All religion is based around magic. And it can be very inconsistent in the sense that, you know, one person may do something, but the other person who replicates it exactly the same may not get the same result. However, there is one, you know, the one thing that would be different more than likely would be faith. You know, the other person has more faith, you know, that way, that's why they were able to reach the conclusions that they were, or reach the desired result. But I really feel like when it comes down to, oh shoot, I forgot where I was going. No, it's my turn.
Okay.
That's happened to me.
Well, we've been dancing around magic a lot tonight, and I think maybe it's time for the next question that I always ask everybody. Dan, do you have any God, I never know how to fucking say this, and you know what I'm trying to say, Phill. But like, do you have any
Paranormal stories?
Yeah, like anything you would consider like supernatural, any experiences?
I don't. You know, I'm answering so quickly because I look for them all the time. I want them to happen to me, but it never happens. The closest I got was two things. An old one, when I was a kid, my dad's from Mexico, and I was staying in Mexico, and like a bunch of glasses poured out or fell onto the floor from the table. It was the middle of the night. You know, woke everybody up, and in the Mexican household, I mean, this causes a freaking panic, right? So, the reason I don't include that really when people ask me, is anything weird ever happened to you, is because I was a kid and you don't really know. All you remember is the panic of the adults and, something broke and nobody did it. And how spooky. And I never got a chance to verify, I just, all I remember is the panic. So, so maybe that's a half of one.
You're a very pragmatic, logical guy. I can tell.
Well, I want to be honest with myself because the whole point in searching for the truth is, you got to be honest. Is this it or is this not?
You have to, yeah.
You got to A or B
You
it.
say I want to believe in spirits and then take that like verification bias,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the other one was last year. It's gonna sound so fucking weird. So last year I was writing this record, panicking again, of course, about the shitty songs, and I'm such an idiot. And I'm sitting. I wrote this entire record I don't live there anymore, but in a 3-bedroom apartment in a bathroom. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, I gotta let this rest for a while. And so I start meditating, right? And I'm not weird about it. I count 6 in, 6 out. I just count and just try to get everything out of my head. And I go, you know what? I'm gonna try this Om practice. I've heard it done, and I could, find a note and just hit that note. Maybe that'll help dispel everything. I'm serious. I don't do mystical shit really. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting into it. I'm doing the circle shit and everything. I'm oming, and I feel like I'm buzzing, right? I'm fucking zzz, and it feels great. And so I stop and I go, oh, this is great. I'm gonna go tell my wife. So I walk out, and we live on the 3rd story, and there's sort of bay windows that look out into towards Nashville. And she's fixated on something out of the window. And I say, you won't believe what just happened. So I was like buzzing, it felt great, and I was feeling shitty, and I did this thing. And she doesn't answer me. And she's looking out the window, she goes, shh, and she's trying to pull out her phone, right? And she's pulling out her phone, she finds the camera button, and she films, and she goes, do you fucking see that? You see that out the window? It's hovering over Nashville. I'm looking, and I don't really see anything until about a minute later. I see this sort of twisting spiral, thing that we've been seeing, that everybody's been seeing. A pyramid in the fucking sky, right? So I see this little square part sort of zipping up. And she actually got it, a lot of it on video. And there's a reason people don't show people these things, is because you're seeing it and it looks big, but when you pull out the camera, it's like fucking, and it looks, you look like an idiot, right? Look at this, so I got it.
Doing that with your phone is not going to take,
Exactly. So now I should mention I was high as a fucking kite, and I for a split second, I swore to the God I don't really believe in that I called aliens there. I swore. And my wife goes, dude, they were telling me that they were here for you. And that freaked me the fuck out for days. I showed Richard the video, and a couple of the other guys that are in the band. And I show him and he goes, what do you think that is? And I go, doesn't look like anything to me. Fuck all you guys. I hate you. You don't know what that whole thing. You don't know what I saw, and you assholes.
Yeah, no, been there. Like that's, oh man, like UFOs are a completely different thing. How do you not believe in aliens? I don't understand how anyone doesn't believe in aliens at this point. Dude,
it's either aliens or we got some really creepy shit going on around here.
Well, I think it's both, man. I think there's extraterrestrials and then there's interdimensionals. So like you have aliens not from this plane, and then you have aliens not from this planet. So like still this physical plane, but from in the stars somewhere. And then you have opposite.
There's interplane play. What would someone on a higher plane want with someone on our plane? I always wondered.
The fact that they can't interact on our plane the same way.
So there's a couple of answers to that. So like on a lesser, well, actually on a higher level too, Philip, you're right. So like it seems to be that everything is envious of humanity. So like even things we would consider on a higher level, like a god, let's say, they want to be human because humans have limitations. If you're interacting with, I guess we haven't talked about like my experiences at all this in our interaction so far, but like
Get into it.
yeah, we like I've interacted with many spirits at this point, and this is one of those things that's like I try to be I'm also a pretty skeptical, logical guy, I like to think, and I always keep a seed of doubt in my mind that I might just be having some kind of like schizophrenic episode or, you know, hallucinating in some way. Although that's not what the case seems to be to me personally. But I always keep that in my mind. I'm never absolutely like sure what reality is. I don't sell myself to religion like that.
Remember, only the Sith deal in absolutes.
So, no, but like in my interactions, these things tend to, what they want from you is a body. You have something they don't. You have an avatar. Spirits I've interacted with have been ecstatic to be in conversation with me because I have something they want. I don't know if it's because, I really don't know at this point if it's because they can't interact with this world without a host, like they have to possess somebody, or if they just like it better, if they just like the way it feels to be a person. Because you have people who describe poltergeist activity, right? Like things just levitating in the air. If that's the case, what do these spirits want from you? They clearly can interact without you. So that's the only conclusion I can arrive at, is they want to experience like hedonistic pleasure through your body.
So
You know-
would these spirits be like something that we would become after we die, or is this a separate thing entirely? I mean, is this like an attainable?
So in
Are you like
chaos magic,
evil?
so in chaos magic, it basically, the principle is don't get caught up on theory and more on just practicality of what you can do, like with your surroundings, like how much can you manipulate reality. So like the first thing like that, like a chaos like magic like handbook would teach you is like, don't get caught up on whether you're going mad schizophrenically, whether you're talking to demons, whether they're elves, whether they're meant any of these different concepts, and just focus on what you can do. Now, if you ask me what I think they are, which you did, and I think the answer is I don't know, but I think a multitude of things, perhaps. Maybe there are ones you can become, like these ghost things we talked about, like either ascended masters, or the lower level would be like comparable to a demon. And then I think there's also this thing called an egregore and a servitor. Basically, the concept is imaginary friends taking on life of their own outside of you. So, and there's two kinds of these. There's ones that are beneath you, and then there's ones you serve. So let's say that the Christian God is a lie. Let's just toss that out there. I think in a sense, he is still alive, because there's this giant mass of faithfuls doing these rituals and pouring faith into this imaginary friend. And at a certain point, this imaginary friend gets powerful enough that it can act independently. So I think those are two options. And then,
like we have this story about Frankenstein,
Yeah. And then, so here's where it gets really complicated, Dan. Then you toss in like DMT entities. What the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck is that? Are those ghosts? Yeah. Are those fucking imaginary friends? Or are those something completely unrelated, which seems to be the case to me. I haven't met any elves, but I have met entities through my DMT trips. And I don't think it has anything to do with ghosts or egregores. I think it's a third party alien. So it's kind of a big question, really.
What do you mean? What do you mean by third party alien?
I think like maybe not something we become, maybe not on like, let's say, the reincarnation cycle, maybe not something you become in an afterlife, and also not something that you imagined. So just something exterior, like, let's say, well, I mean, like an alien would be, like if you met ET, it's just alien, I guess.
I see.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, I mean, and who knows, man? Who knows?
Oh, that's really interesting. Exactly. Who knows? Why wouldn't that be the case? I mean, there's no reason. You have these, when you mentioned like DMT and mushrooms like that, the first question I come to is like, obviously, is that in the head or is that somewhere external that I'm somehow perceiving? And more, I'm coming to this weird, I have this weird feeling like this reality is inside. Like, and I keep feeling like I'm inside somewhere, and that to escape the consciousness is actually the outside, and it sounds cliche, but when you really feel like you're inside somewhere, it's an odd feeling to walk around like, oh, I got to get outside. And there's no escape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, yeah, it's a crazy life, man. It's crazy that we're alive at all, experiencing this, having this conversation, and like, I guess that's also cliche. Wow, I just made it really cheesy, but like, it is, like, it blows my mind. We're all alive right now, living this whatever the fuck it is, and we're all just bumbling around, confused, trying to figure shit out, and like, it could end at any moment. Like, there was just an asteroid that flew by us like a couple weeks ago, and we didn't even fucking detect it until it had already passed us. And like, I mean, I don't think it would have been like, cataclysmic to like the death of humanity, but it would have been pretty bad if it hit us.
Yeah, man, I probably have so many close calls. We're just never aware of them. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting what you said about the human, like wanting a human body for its limitations.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes a lot of sense. Sorry, it's just been milling around in my head. I'm like, I'd never thought of it that way, that you would actually seek a human existence, like, because it's hard. And it makes sense because we do things that are hard on purpose,
Yeah.
Because we get a charge out of it. Like, it makes us want to live more when we do things, when we accomplish things.
We thrive on,
like,
if you think about like the way that it was specifically in Christianity, I don't know about a lot of other religions, but you think about the way that like angels and demons exist, at least in lore, they pretty well just exist to serve. That's all they exist for. The angels serve God. If they're not serving God, then they're serving the devil, and they are demons, and they are doing the devil's bidding. So these beings like that are always in submission to something else. And if you look at the demons, they broke away and followed Satan for what I would assume would be the chance to not have to bow to somebody else, to not be subject to something else. So then, like, if you take the interactions between humans and demons versus the interactions between angels and humans, it seems as though demons, they want to be a part of our world because they want to have freedom. They want to be able to do. They want to do what they want.
Fornicate with human women is the whole Nephilim thing.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I was when I was growing up, one of the things that was told to me and I held on to pretty hard was that, like, when a demon possesses a physical body, they get pleasure out of it, the same sort of similar to sexual pleasure. So it's not just like, oh, I'm in this body, you know, whatever, let me just go do some stuff. Like they actually derive pleasure from it, the same way that an angel, the same way that an angel would deserve pleasure from serving God. Yeah. So I feel like when it comes to spirits, depending on what they are, sometimes it can be simple as just, I want to feel good. I want to be in a human body. I want to experience sex. I want to experience drugs. I want to experience, you know, what it feels like to physically walk down the street, like, you know, that sort of thing. But I think I feel like other spirits could want possession for other reasons that are a little more like goal driven than that. But I think that when it comes down to it, it is just simply that being a human gives them a different experience, just the same way that playing a video game and being the antagonist of a video game gives you a different experience. It puts you in a different setting, puts you in a different place, and changes up your normal day-to-day life. And I feel like that's why beings on different planes of existence want to interact with us so much, is because they don't know what it's like to live in a 4-dimensional world. They don't know what it's like to experience things the way that we experience them. So at that point, you know, it comes down to a selfish pleasure of theirs. And, you know, do they want to see what it's like to live as us, or do they think themselves
or it's
too above us?
Yeah, like they were previously living a life and they're nostalgic for it. So something like that. Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to have the same problem in the afterlife as I do here. I'm going to just want to say, fuck all of you. I want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be a hierarchy. I don't want to be a god. I don't want to be a devil. Just want to go on some planets, smoke some weed, do a lot of fucking, leave me alone. That's kind of my idea of heaven. And I hope I get that. I hope you're right, Phill. I hope I get my grand idea of what it
I hope you do
on
too.
that. Yeah, man. Crazy shit. How long have we been going? We've been going over 2 hours.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Has it really been 2 hours? Oh my God.
It's been over 2 hours. I mean, we can keep going. Was there I'm trying to think. There was something I was gonna bring up. I can't remember what it was. Do you guys have anything to filler while I try to remember what I wanted to talk about?
I got something back to reach back towards what we were talking about before about books and things. I don't do a lot of reading, but I recently picked up this book called The Magician by Michael Scott.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. That's a different. Wait, The Magician?
It's a different author.
The Magician by Lev Grossman, or are you talking about a completely different book?
A completely different book.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, you got me hard, and now my dick went like that.
Well, hold on. Don't let your dick get soft yet.
Oh wait, there's more.
There is more. There is so much more.
Keep that dick on, man.
No, there's this book, The Magician, is about a guy. They call him the alchemist. It's the archetype, the alchemist. But his name is Nicholas Flamel, and it's got characters like John Dee and Machiavelli and things like that in it. But it's all fiction, and it's really good, I think, because it introduces magic in a real way, but while keeping some of the fantasy. So like they do things like, John Dee raises the dead, while necromancy is not something that most people would, we don't know that anyone can practice necromancy enough to raise the dead out of the graves.
To attribute to John Dee. He was like a divination guy. Like he did scrying and stuff.
Well, in this book, John Dee he's the protagonist. He's the bad guy.
That's an antagonist.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, antagonist. Yeah. Yeah, because he antagonizes yeah, duh. Um, so in this, he's the bad guy. He does a lot of stuff. And it's really cool because like when people practice magic in this book, they have certain smells that are specific to them. Like one of the girls in it, when she practices magic, she smells of vanilla. Her brother, the air fills of orange, the scent of oranges, you know. And so like there's like it's one of those things where it's like there's a little bit of truth in the lie. And like as I haven't made it very far in the book, but as I've been reading, there's been so many parallels between what I already know and what I already practice versus seeing it like on a much larger scale. It's just really, really nice. I have loved the book so much. But like I wanted to talk about that earlier, but we kind of just got off into other things. But that's a really good book because I feel like it's nice. It would be nice to introduce someone into like what chaos magic might be like. And just obviously they would have to know that there are certain things they wouldn't be able to do, like just put their hands on doors and unlock them and things like that. You know, there's some things that are a little out there, but for the idea of what it's like to be a chaos magician and what sort of mindset you have to be in, it's really nice to see that put into fiction in a way that seems real, if that makes sense, or seems, you know, believable.
Like you're talking about like a hard magic system versus something like Harry Potter where it's all wobbly gibbity. It's like
right,
it like has consequences.
Yeah, and they talk about that too because one of the girls in it, one of the dangers that she has of practicing magic is that literally you can overload your body and spontaneously combust. That's where spontaneous combustion comes from, is a magician overloading their body from using too much magic or using magic in a way that they can't perform, and they literally explode from it. But like it's just little things like that tie it into the real world and like that really just draw me in. I don't know. I've really enjoyed reading thus far, you know, the couple chapters I've gotten into it.
Lonely Island made an entire song about spontaneous combustion. You guys remember that?
Oh yeah, I do.
And I jizzed in my pants.
I forgot about Lonely Island, but I remember that song.
Dude, they make incredible music. I love their music. I mean, I know they don't write it, it's probably writers, but like I love playing Lonely Island. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey, tell me what you guys think about this.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, going back to rock and roll, I think it's lost its fuck you, and I think it's appropriate that hip hop has been sort of taken over and actually been inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
I think if rock's not going to carry the fuck you torch that hip hop needs to.
Yeah,
you know?
That's absolutely true.
And a lot of people,
Yeah.
I think, I thought you get upset, you know, like hip hop and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is sacrilegious. It's not, because it's not about the style of music. It's not the genre.
It's all built on the same thing. NWA, niggas with attitude, fuck the police, coming straight from the underground. Like, you know, that it's the same message on both sides of it. Like, it's just literally the only thing that separates it is color.
You know what's funny is like what we're talking about reminds me of like punk music too, but like 80s, 90s punk music, where it's like it is like fuck you, fuck the government, fuck you, like just fuck you. And like that like especially like in our area, like I don't know, punk is more like it's like no, you can be like politically like on one side or the other and still be punk, and it's like you can jump on this. No, it's about
you can't.
Yeah, it's like taking a punk sound kind of, but like that's not what punk is.
It's plagiarism. All it is, it's literally plagiarism.
Just go to like a Murfreesboro punk show, like, and just be like you guys aren't punk.
Wrong.
So what have you guys been in any shows lately? I mean, I know you went to the end show where I was, but did you see anybody interesting lately?
I really wanted to see Daikaiju the other night at Springwater. I wasn't feeling good, so I didn't go. What have I seen recently? I've been to shows since the end. Nothing big like I went to Burro Fondo.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Speaking of Murfreesboro punk bands. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I went to like 2 or 3 of those spots. I was there like for a while. What else have I done recently?
That's cool. I'd like to play that. I don't know for whatever reason. Maybe they just didn't know we were around, but I got to get in contact with them because that looked like a really cool thing.
Yeah, what it is. Yeah, they do it every year, I think. And this was the first one I went to. But
Okay.
yeah, so like it starts at one spot and then it jumps over to a different venue and like you just basically do rounds and it goes like for a day or two.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have anything else I wanted to say particularly. Is there
Oh, all right.
anything? I'm not shutting the door. I ran out of like notes I had, but Dan, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, this is fun, man. I really appreciate you guys having me. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude. I definitely look forward to having you and I'm sorry, what was the other guy's name again?
Richard. Rich.
Yeah, yeah. If Richard wants to come on too at some point, that'd be cool too. But I'd love to have you on it again, man, sometime. You don't even have it doesn't have to be any special occasion or you're promoting anything. We kind of do a round table where people come in and out of the show. So you're definitely free to come back and do this again. I'd love to have you.
And I am in. You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you so much.
Fuck yeah, dude. I like it's not like a delusions of grandeur thing, but like um I think in a small way, like this kind of stuff is important. Not that like me specifically, what I'm doing is important, really, but like this kind of discussion, this kind of dialogue is important because it's uncomfortable and because a lot of people won't talk about it. So thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate you being such a cool guy and so open-minded. I appreciate you making fucking amazing music. Alice, go check out Drifters and Vellichor, their new self-titled release. Album's the same name. You can find it in the description below. There's also links to the video they just had for the shadow down there. And we'll see if we can get a link to some lyrics too. Dan, thank you again. David, Philip, if Philip's still here, I don't know where he went. But thank you guys for being here too. And Alice, we will see you next time.
See you guys. Bye, Alice.